Hello guys, it's me, Jiggy Spice. Today I want to talk more about the Greatsword because I do believe that I have made a insanely good build and I can't wait to tell you all about it. This, by the way, is not New York City, it's Everfall. Not the Big Apple, the Big Sausage. And by the way, can I just say this before I get into it? It is a tragedy that this game does not have transmog, because look at this hat. It's one of the new hats, and why can I not wear this? I'm so sad about it. Maybe one day. Everfall does look good though. But we are here to talk about the Greatsword. And this weapon is cool. So I want to talk to you about my build right now. It is a Rapier and Greatsword build. I know it sounds really strange. It's probably the last one anybody thought about, but it was the first one I thought about. Because as soon as I saw that this thing scales with dexterity equally as strength, I just knew that, wow, I have to make something with the Rapier because it's gonna be too good. And my gosh, I have figured out something with this thing. So let me talk about the Greatsword first of all. I'm gonna just break it down to you in case you don't know that much about it yet. This is a weapon that has stances. It has Path of Onslaught, which is the DPS stance, and it has the Path of Defiance, which is the tank stance. Switching between these stances happens by using an ability from one of the trees. So if I use one of the red abilities, I go into DPS stance. If I use one of the blue abilities, I go into tank stance, basically. So it is smart to have abilities from both trees because you want to be able to enter both stances. What the Onslaught stance does is it increases the damage you deal by 15% and increases the damage you take by 15%. So you become more squishy, but you deal more damage. And your heavy attacks charge twice as fast, but they also consume 10 stamina by each swing. So managing stamina is going to be something to consider with this weapon. Now in the Defiance stance, you decrease the damage that you deal by 15% and you decrease the damage that you take by 15%. But you block attacks while charging your heavy attacks. Yeah, that's right, you block while charging heavy attacks. But you still block by using stamina the same way you would if you're blocking normally. So you can get stamina broken while dealing heavy attacks. So you have to manage your stamina. You have to decide if you want to have a budget left to dodge with, or if you should be doing a heavy charge right now because somebody's hitting you. They might stamina break you and stagger you. So that can happen. You have to play well with this weapon. This is not an easy weapon at all. But if you use it correctly and you get good with it, this is going to be an insane weapon. An insane weapon. So, let's talk about the abilities. Relentless Rush. This is a whirlwind. This is my Onslaught ability, my only Onslaught ability. I'm just gonna start calling it a DPS because Onslaught is difficult for me to pronounce. But yeah, this is a whirlwind. I will show you what it looks like. It's like this. Pretty basic. 2 strikes forward in a spinny move. It deals 110% weapon damage on the first hit, 120 weapon damage on the second, and it also applies a 20% slow for 4 seconds. If you upgrade it, you gain 10% in power for 10 seconds. Upgrade it again, you root somebody for 1 second, and if you're in the Defiance stance when you use this ability, it will heal you for 15% of the damage. Maximum 5 hits. Yeah, that's something. And it also reduces the cooldown by 50% if you kill somebody with it. It can be pretty good. 50% is a lot. I think it's a 19-second cooldown, so yeah, 20-second cooldown. Turn it into a 10-second cooldown if you use it as a finishing move. Holy. Secondly, we got the Calamity Counter. This is the shield. This one. This is your Greatsword riposte. So what it does a lot. It deals 100% weapon damage when you unleash it, because once you finish charging, you can also choose when to release it, by the way. You don't have to wait for the entire duration. But when it's done, you send out some damage in a, I think it's an 180 or 360. I think it's a 180 degree cone in front of you. It's not just one target. You can AoE people with this. But it also does more. If you block one attack with this, if you block one attack of damage, it will stagger the opponent that it hits. If you block 2 attacks, it would stagger for longer. And if you block 3 times, it will knock them back, just like a Warhammer clear out. You know, it will just knock them back. The ability has grit, but you can be hit in the back. It's a shield, so think of it as a shield. If you upgrade it, this will also inflict bleeding for 6 seconds, which deals 5% weapon damage, can stack up to 5 times. And if you upgrade it again, the crit chance is increased by 25%, or if you're in Onslaught stance when you use this, it will increase it by 50% total. In Defiance stance, the counter attack heals for 20% of the damage it deals. It doesn't deal that much damage, but it does deal a little bit, so it's going to be helpful. Now, you might think bleeding, that's really random, but we're gonna get into that because bleeding is a big deal with this build. But let me go over the abilities first. So the last ability that we have is Steadfast Strike. This ability is easy to underestimate at first, but once you understand the freaking power this ability has, this is the ability. Doesn't look like that much, right? But first of all, the reach of it is insane. If the tip of the sword touches the enemy, you have hit them. Now let me explain what the ability does, because it does a lot. Stab your greatsword out forward to impale your foes, then pull back to rip the blade out. Restores 20 stamina on each hit, and it can hit twice. So that means you can get 40 stamina from one attack. Just think about that. This ability, this weapon, stamina is very important to you. So anything you can do to manage your stamina, you need that. Now the first hit deals 70% weapon damage and staggers. The second hit deals 120% weapon damage and pulls the target 1.5 meters towards you. And it also generates 150% threat. So it can be a taunt ability. So somebody's trying to run away from you. No, you get over here. That's a reap. This is a reap, but it also staggers. Basically, it is a reap. That is what it is. But it also gives you stamina. So yeah, it's a good one. If you upgrade it, then you will heal yourself of 50% of the damage that you deal. In Defiance stance, the first strike also inflicts 2 stacks of bleeding for 6 seconds. You know, up to 5 stacks. You're gonna want 5 stacks of bleeding. Yes, this is a bleeding weapon for some reason, but that's how it is. If the second strike of Steadfast Strike hits, reduce the cooldown of all other greatsword abilities by 20%. Yep, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now I want to talk about something. Watch the cooldowns for every ability that I have here. I can blow my load like this and suddenly I'm on a 20-second lockout basically, right? The lowest ability being 17-second cooldown and the highest one being 20 and the other one being 18 or 19. What is it? 20, 18, and 20. Yeah, exactly. So you're gonna want cooldown reductions, and this weapon has a lot of it. Now, how you're gonna want to spec with all of the other abilities, I want to talk about Onslaught, because you're gonna put most of your points in Onslaught, and then eventually get Unrelenting Onslaught, which hitting foes reduces greatsword cooldowns. Light attack 2%, charged heavy attack 10%. You're gonna want to spam these charged heavy attacks, you know, you're gonna reduce your cooldowns a lot. You know, so cooldowns are not gonna be that big of a problem. Firstly, I've gotten this, charged heavy attacks have 50% armor penetration, just seems pretty smart to me. This one is insane, gain 20% haste for 5 seconds after using any Onslaught tree ability. I want to talk about this one real quick, because we are using the Rapier with this build. Now, this is amazing for chasing, right? You can probably notice that I'm using Flourish and Finish instead of Riposte. I think that is how I am going to run this build, even though Riposte is really strong. Flourish and Finish is also really strong. So just look at how incredible the gap closing ability of this weapon is. And then a 20% haste. Bruh. I don't even have words. I don't even have words. Nobody's running away from this. Nobody's getting away. Nobody's getting away. It's insane. Like the chasing potential and the mobility that you're gonna have with this build. With the Rapier, you know, you can go over here, you can do so much. Flourish and Finish is a mobility ability as much as it is a offensive ability. Don't be afraid to use it for that reason. Also this one, great mobility, slows the enemy, roots them a little bit. Charge after them. I want to get this guy, you know, stagger him, pull him towards you. Yeah, this is insane. This is insane. Let's talk a little bit more about the other abilities though, because this is the haste. You gotta get 20% haste for 5 seconds, that's just insane. Next one is the keen posture. After gaining Onslaught stance, so after you enter your DPS stance, your next attack within 5 seconds has a 100% increased critical hit chance. It means you're gonna get a free critical hit on your next attack. And then critical comeback, become energized by landing a critical hit and regain 5 stamina and 5 base health per second for 5 seconds. Oh my god. It's crazy. And now we get to crush the weak. Critical hit chance is increased by 10% when attacking foes with an active debuff. So you're gonna wanna have bleeds stacked on your enemy at all times. That's why this is a bleed tree. Crush the weak is awesome. You get a 10% crit chance, basically 100% uptime on that one, as long as you're in a fight with somebody. And then aggressive shift. I don't think this is a good one. I'm gonna have to think about it. Basically it lets you enter the DPS stance by charging a heavy attack. I'm going to have to experiment to see if I actually want that or not. But I think maybe not. Because if I can reduce the cooldowns enough, I can enter that with the Relentless Rush. The only downside is that then I don't have a DPS ability to use the Keen Posture with. I could use one of these, but then I leave the DPS stance, you know. So I'm gonna have to think about that. And Giant Slayer, this one is also freaking good. Increases the base attack damage by 20% when attacking somebody above 90% health. So it lets you just burst on the first few hits. Pretty good. Yeah. In the tank tree, we're gonna have to discuss. This is Skyward Slash, by the way. I wanna also talk about this one. Swing up in a brutal arc, which staggers your target and deals 80% weapon damage and applying 2 stacks of 5% rend. So that's 10% rend. It is pretty good as well. So, do I want mobility or do I want rend? Like I have to think about it, but from my testing, I feel like Relentless Rush is better at this point, just because I really like the mobility. But don't sleep on Skyward Slash, because Rend is good. It also has a secondary attack, kind of like Sweep for the spear, where you slash down again and you deal 140% weapon damage, and then the last one applies a disease, which reduces healing by 20% for 10 seconds. And like that is pretty insane, like 10 seconds of 20% healing reduction. Jesus. And it is an AoE, 3-meter AoE. So yeah, this weapon is nuts. It's crazy. Alright, let's talk about the Defiance tree then. Obviously my weapon isn't leveled up all the way to 20, so I don't have all of the points allocated yet. But I think you definitely are going to want to get the Calamity Counter, you'll want to get the Jagged Counter, and then crit chance is increased. I don't know. I don't think... Yeah, maybe, because it does the healing. Yeah, maybe. Wary Posture, after gaining Defiant Stance, reduces the damage you take by 25%. And then also if you're hit while at full health, reduce the damage you take by 20%. Gain a 20% fortify for 3 seconds. That's like a 45% damage reduction. If they stack, can be pretty good. This one is one you're going to have to want to get. Unflinching Blade. It gives all of your charged heavy attacks grit and also inflicts bleeding for 6 seconds, dealing 5% weapon damage. It lets you inflict bleeding with your heavy attacks, and this is a dexterity build that I'm running, which means that I can still have grit on my heavy attacks, so that's pretty cool. Guarded shift lets you enter the tank stance by blocking for 2 seconds. I have 2 defense abilities, so I don't think that I'm going to need that one. Faultless defenders, freaking insane. Reduce stamina damage by 50% when blocking attacks just after raising your guard or with guard point, and it inflicts a 5% rend for 10 seconds against melee attackers, which stacks up to 3 times. So you can get a 15% rend from blocking. Somebody attacks you when you're blocking, yeah, go have some rend. Go get 15% rend for just hitting me. What? It's pretty insane. You want to increase these ones, get this one fully upgraded. Lets you heal for 50% of the damage you deal, and in Defiance stance the first strike also inflicts bleeding. And then cooldown reduction, 20%. For all of your abilities, by the way, not just this one. So yeah, this weapon, man, I am curious to see if it's going to get nerfed a little bit. It's so hard to know if it's overpowered or if it's even weak, you know, like the PvP in the PTR is not exactly regular. I've been able to do a few arenas, but people in there don't really know what they're doing. I don't even know what I'm doing, and it's just hard to really test it that well. So we're gonna have to wait and see on the live servers before we know for sure. I can talk a little bit about the Rapier because they did change or nerf the Rapier. So for those of you that are worried about the Rapier being nerfed, I just want to say it's no big deal. The changes that they've made are not that substantial. They did change the riposte, so that you can still be stunned. With the insult to injury, you can still be stunned and stuff like that, but you can't be staggered. And I don't really care about that, to be honest, because who cares? The riposte still gives you invulnerability while it's active, so yeah, it's still good. I'm split though, because lately I've been feeling like riposte isn't that great. Flourish and finish seems to be a better option because almost nobody gets hit by the stun anymore. It's only Warhammers when you hit them while they're in their shockwave and stuff like that. But in a normal fight, everybody dodges the stun, so it's so rare to land it. But the Flourish and Finish, you know, gives you grit if you upgrade it. Gives you grit. And staggers the opponent and gives you mobility and deals pretty good damage even without Tondo. I hope that they one day upgrade Tondo, because I think that this ability sucks, to be honest. It just sucks. I can't even imagine switching out Evade or Flash for Tondo. So, but some people use Tondo and they like it, so I don't know. Maybe it's just not my style. But basically, you want to run fully upgraded Flourish and Finish, fully upgraded Evade, fully upgraded Flash, get the momentum. And which is the last one? Yeah, you want to get this one. Everything in this tree, all of these points except the 2 ones at the top, I'm pretty sure, if I'm thinking about it right. I have to look at my live build, but basically these 3 abilities are going to be the base Rapier build, in my opinion, because this mobility from Flourish and Finish is something that I've been sleeping on for a minute. But now that I've started using it, I've been using it for, I don't know, a week or 2 now. And it's, yeah, pretty insane what you can do with that in combat. So this is the build with the Greatsword that I'm looking at. Still having to experiment with all of the other points, but at least for the abilities, I think this is going to be just completely cracked, to be honest. This is going to be insane. I cannot wait to test this on the live servers with good gear and against good players who are in their builds that they're used to and stuff like this. Just see how this thing holds up, because obviously in the PTR people aren't used to anything yet, and everybody's using the Greatsword, so you know you're always kind of fighting the same weapon. I want to see how this thing goes up against a bow, how it deals with a you know, anything. So yeah, that is pretty much the build. I just wanted to tell you guys about it. I think this is a build that you're going to see people use for sure. Rapier, don't sleep on it. Rapier and Greatsword is gonna be nuts. It's gonna be nuts. I cannot wait. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you have any questions or input, or you just want to discuss this build, just leave a comment down below. And you know, I love getting comments and reading comments and getting into this discussion. I think the weapon is very exciting. It's totally a brand new type of a weapon, so I think it's going to be such a good addition to the game. I don't think it's going to ruin any kind of fun. I think this is just going to add more rich variety to the flow of combat in this game. I don't think it's going to be overpowered, but I do think it's going to be extremely strong. Like I said, it's not going to be a dud, and it's not going to be massively overtuned, I don't think. And I'm sure they're going to put it back in line quickly enough if it is. So yeah, it's going to be exciting to see. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Have a nice day and peace.
An amazing shot! Don't let it The arena thirsts for blood to remember!